Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, well, I've done that wrong because we have an intro now. I don't need to do that.
Are you ready?
Welcome to the Before the Free Count podcast. In the red corner, it's Charlie Quick, and in the blue corner, it's Callum Hunt. And so, let the show begin.
That's right, it's Before the Free Cam. Welcome back. I am Charlie Crook, and this week I am actually joined by Callum Jamie Hunt. How you doing?
Yes, I've been good. I'm just back from prison.
Yep,
I'm here
7 days.
37 days in prison, and I'm back. I'm back, and
uh,
Just like Dominic Mysterio, I've learned a lot, and I'm a new
yes.
man.
Now we're gonna have to change his name to Crazy Callum.
Yeah, crazy Callum. Got some teardrops tattooed on my cheek,
Yeah,
so I'm a
I did
criminal now.
actually get a new tattoo today.
Yes, of John Moxley.
Yeah,
A little
yeah.
tattoo of John
You let a
Moxley on my.
child do a tattoo.
Yes.
Anyway, um, we are Before the Free Count. Welcome back. If you may have heard last week's episode, it was just me. We do apologize for that, but we're back, and there was something that I didn't mention last week that I said I was going to at the very end, and I'm going to mention it now. You may have noticed in the last couple of episodes we have a very, very cool new intro, which was made by, I can now tell you all, we have had a awesome editor with us on our side for about a month now. And his name's Peter. Peter, you can chuck in a little bit here, mentioning yourself.
Hello, I'm Peter Hunton, and I'm now the editor for the Before the Free Count. It's great to reconnect finally again with Charlie. We know each other from a previous college that we both went to, and it's great to be able to edit these episodes from now on. And I did the intro as well. Let me know in the comments below what you think about it. I think it's great for the moment, but I'm really pleased to be part of the team.
Peter's got his own podcast as well, which is talking to different disabled people and finding out about their life's journey and how the world today has impacted them. I'm also going to be a guest on that podcast soon, and when I am, I will give a mention out again, and we will probably do something where he comes on our podcast as well, I think.
That would be
But
nice.
nevertheless, how you been, Callum?
Very good, very good. And you're right, Peter is a fantastic guy. I've spoken to him briefly. Really, really nice person. And his podcast is really good. I mean, it makes us look like chumps,
I know
but
it does, yeah.
we're going to improve our one, definitely.
But it's
It's
starting with this week because some of you may be actually watching us. Hello. We are actually on YouTube now. We are going to be putting it up on my old YouTube channel from this week. We know the lighting and the setup isn't perfect, by the way, guys. And
I
we also
didn't.
have to get used to the idea of looking at the camera, looking at our notes, making sure it's still recording, and all that kind of stuff. But you can now see our faces, apart from just that silly little promo that we put out at the beginning. Um,
Okay,
and
I didn't know that. I would have dressed better.
it's fine.
It's
We're going
okay.
to cut it and
Don't
edit it.
don't judge me,
Don't
guys.
worry. He's not
Sorry
going to judge it.
for vaping.
I should have really warned him. I just realised. But nevertheless, we've got a lot to go through today. Um, I'm gonna go through the list of the new matches that have been announced for SummerSlam. They've been cooking. They really have this week. And I'm also going to go through, I'm hoping that Callum can help me as well, go through a little bit of SmackDown this week. And we're also going to talk about just general wrestling. And we're going to start with that purely because this may sound really random to you guys, but we usually have a chat for about 5-10 minutes before we press record on this podcast. And we were talking generally, and Callum told me about his new tattoo. And I was just saying before we press record that for some reason in my brain, I don't know why, but I really want to, and I might go off after this podcast and do so, just watch WrestleMania 25 again. I don't know why, I just really want to watch it. But you were just saying to me what matches were on that. We were talking about it quickly. I think it was Edge versus Mick Foley. It was definitely either TLC 1 or TLC 2. I could be wrong, but I know it
Well,
was
I don't know
definitely
about
one
that.
of them two.
Well, it must have been the second, surely. If it was at Mania, because TLC one wasn't that the one with
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey, and just interestingly, it's the first WrestleMania of the PG era.
Was it actually?
Yeah,
So go on, you've got it up on your laptop. Let's just
yeah.
quickly, before we get into our normal business, just go through it because we want to hear from you guys. Oh, that was the other thing. We've also got a question at the end of this episode from a fan that has sent us a bit of messaging. So thank you very much. We are going to answer your question. It's a little bit delayed because I didn't want to answer it on my own last week, but we're still going to go through it. Anyway, back to what we were talking about then.
Yeah, so the card was Triple H versus Randy Orton, Edge versus Edge with Chavo Guerrero. Oh no. Oh, so it's Edge versus John Cena versus The Big Show. And it was Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. I was right about that. I didn't think it was that.
Yeah, definitely. Now I definitely remember because he comes down like an angel, and we had the whole storyline of he will be the chosen one. Um, little
I
did
mean,
we know, 5 years later.
um, what's John Bradshaw Layfield, JBL versus Rey Mysterio, Matt Hardy versus Jeff Hardy, which I can't remember that one very well, but that sounds good. And listen to this one: Jimmy Snooker, Ricky Steamboat, Roddy Piper with Ric Flair versus Chris Jericho. That's 3-on-1 handicap match.
That's a very interesting match, and I don't know how I've forgotten it. Some people are going to be screaming, like, how do you forget that one?
Yeah, CM Punk versus Finley versus Kane versus Mark Henry versus
I'm
MVP.
sure that was Punk's first Mania. I'm pretty sure in saying that.
Yeah. Speaking of Punk's first Mania, speaking of Punk, I would
In
love him
general.
to bring back his old music. That would be awesome. For SummerSlam, that would be sick. Living through my
No, I don't
darkest.
think he will because he's built himself so up with that music now. Like, I
I
can't
know,
hear that
but
song without thinking of him.
he did bring his old theme back. Well, not that theme, but a really old theme of his for an AEW pay per view. So it would be
Yeah,
interesting to hear
very
that one.
true.
Just no, not to bring it back permanently, just for like one event.
Do you know what's really weird? I don't know, I was thinking about this the other day. Um, Everything that's gone on when I say it's okay, I want you to think about, and the logistics, the drama, the stuff that's happened, the shocks, the injuries, all that stuff, okay? Take all that into consideration. Only next month it will be a year since CM Punk's last fight, which was at a All In at Wembley. All of the stuff that's happened in less than a year.
He
It's
knows how to get people talking.
ridiculous how much has happened.
He really knows how to get people talking.
I mean, you look at everything that's happened. So he left. There was all the drama about what happened backstage. We're not going into that because I think we started our podcast then. I'm pretty sure we were a few weeks into our podcast. We definitely spoke about it. And then, Survivor Series, he comes out of nowhere, and I really did not know. I don't know anyone that knew that was going to happen.
And I still love watching it back because I love the way they did it. How the show literally ended. You saw the little
Yeah,
trademark thing
yeah,
with the you were like, okay, time to go to bed. Time to
yeah.
go to bed in disappointment. And then suddenly that music hit, and oh my god! But like that was incredible. And the thing is, I sadly went to bed early that night, and I wish I never did because then I saw on the first thing I saw on Twitter. I remember seeing this Triple H and CM Punk standing next to each other, and I had to do a double take. I was like,
But that was the same with you. What you went through is the exact same thing I went through when I fell asleep last month, nearly a month ago now. Um, if you can't tell, by the way, we're based in the UK. If anyone's listening to this in another country, we have to stay up very, very late for these
yeah,
pay-per-views. Like 1 a.m. is just the standard start time over here. And it will go on to like nearly 4:45, sometimes even 5. The longest, if you want to know, was WrestleMania 32 or 33. It was the one where it had the big uh, roller coaster thing, and it was where the Hardys came back. That was the longest Mania in history. That went on in the UK till 6:45 the next morning. 7:15. Um.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna lose track of stuff here. I fell asleep. You did the exact same thing that I did last month. With Money in the Bank, and I woke up and it was John Cena's press conference. And I was like, "Wait, what?" The thing is,
Yeah.
I've got one of those phones that will keep on playing no matter what. Like it never dies, which is brilliant. But when you have something that you're watching on your phone and then you fall asleep and you wake up, you think, my phone's still playing. Hang on, what was I watching? And then you look and you're like, and I did it the other week. Okay. I did it the other week because I was watching an episode of The Simpsons before I went to bed. I woke up, I was nearly a new series and a half through. I was like, brilliant. Now I've got to go back and start watching all that. There you go, kids. Do not watch TV in bed, especially streaming services that will just continue looping to the next episode. Nevertheless, man, we've gone on a bit today before we've even started. But this is nice. This is nice. This is kind of what I wanted the podcast to be, just like a general chitty chatty thingy. I don't know why I said chitty chat.
Yeah. I think sometimes you lose a bit of that, like you know, the chattiness side of things. It's sometimes nice to just have a natural
Chat.
conversation about wrestling, you know?
Yeah. You know what? Because we're at that point now and we're just generally chatting, I was going to do this at the end of the episode, but I'm going to do it now. So, we got our very first piece of fan mail. Well, fan mail isn't probably the word, probably a message, a question, which we got nearly 2 weeks ago, which I absolutely love, by the way. Thank you so much to who sent it in. So, the question that we got sent in was, if you could choose one fight right now for All In, what would it be? I
Okay.
really like that, by the way. I was pretty sure we got one that was sent in that was football themed as well. So if I've lost that and you did send it, can the person that did do that send it back? Because I want to do that one. I swear to God, we got one that was like, if you could put one wrestler in the England football squad, who would it be? I swear to God, we got that question. But no, the one we got this week was a few weeks ago was, if you could choose at the time one match for All In, what would it be? Now, bearing in mind, we've left this nearly 2 weeks, 3 weeks late, so we do apologise, but so we know that a couple of matches have been announced. However, there are a few that could still happen.
You-
So, Callum, I'm going to toss it over to you first. What's your dream match at All In?
So this is a credit to Tony Khan because like the first two matches that come into my head, thought about, and I'm like, oh yeah, they've already been announced and they're happening. They're happening. So
Can
MJF
you?
versus Will
Yeah.
Ospreay. That's one match I would
Is
have
that
loved to see, and that's happening.
that's happening?
That's happening. Yeah,
Oh yeah, of course it is.
Will
That's why
Ospreay
he's
versus
waiting.
MJ.
I
versus-
thought. Sorry, I apologise. I thought that one was booked for All Out, but proves how
Crazy,
much I'm keeping on the ball.
and not only that, but um, the other match I would love to see is Britt Baker versus Mercedes Moné, and that's also happening too.
Yeah.
So
Which is, I feel really sorry for the guy that sent this question, because if you would have asked it a couple of weeks, if we would have asked this a couple of weeks ago, we would have genuinely probably predicted them matches. Let's be honest.
yeah, and the thing is, okay, so there's one thing I would have liked to have seen. I feel like it's a missed opportunity for Will Ospreay to win the World Championship at All In front of the UK crowd. So that would have been my dream match. I think maybe Will Ospreay versus Swerve Strickland. That would have been the one. But hey, if it's not to be, it's not to be. But it would have been awesome to see him. But we're still going to get Will Ospreay, and I also think it would be awesome. Shout out to Michael Oku to make an appearance
Yeah,
because
100%.
let's not forget Tony Khan witnessed in person a 6 star. Let me repeat that by Dave Meltzer, 6 star match between Michael Oku and Will Ospreay. And after that, if he didn't have an intention maybe of signing Michael Oku as well, then I don't know. I
I
feel like
could
Michael,
very much see Michael Oku actually intervening with that match now you've said that.
yeah, I mean that'd be pretty damn
Yeah,
cool. Hope it, he could do really well. Yeah, I think
yeah,
he's probably ready. And the anniversary show we're going to on the Saturday night of Rev Pro, it looks like Luke Jacobs may take the belt off Michael Oku, and if he does,
yeah,
then that could be his final match in Rev Pro. Who knows?
yeah. I think one for me that I'd really like to see There's two. You said two. I'll say two. Um, the first one that if I could pick it, it will be one of my dream hero wrestlers, which is Daniel Bryan or Brian. I can't remember what he's going by now. Is it Brian Danielson?
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
Brian Danielson. I apologize. Look, I started watching wrestling 10 years ago this year. It's been 10 years since I started properly watching it.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you're like an encyclopedia of wrestling now. You know a lot.
encyclopedia.
I don't know how to say the word. Encyclopedia. That's it, isn't it? Encyclopedia.
I keep forgetting to look at the camera, guys. I do apologize. Um, but I think my dream match would be Brian Danielson, and this might be a little bit of a controversial one, but I'd really like to see him against probably Orange Cassidy.
Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah,
That could be a good matchup.
yeah. I mean, I think the angle they're going to go for is probably Adam Cole.
Oh,
I
Adam
think.
Cole. What's he doing now? Is he fit? If he's fit, then get him on.
Yeah. The other one would be I just think these two would gel so well in a match. And I know there's been a little bit of back and forth between them. They may have already had this match. I don't follow AEW as well, so I do apologize if this match has already happened. But I would really like to see Ruby Soho versus um Paige. But it's not Paige. Soraya.
I mean, on a big stage as well. Why not?
Yeah.
A hardcore death match.
Yeah. And I also think Anna Jay should have another shot at the title, especially winning it in England, because I had the very lucky chance to meet her, and she had the belt at the time. She was actually carrying the belt. Did you
Oh,
meet her then?
nice person.
Yeah, she was lovely. Did
I
you
didn't
meet
do
her
the
that
meet. I
weekend?
sadly didn't do the meet and greets, which I regret. But
Did you get like a photo signed by her? Did you like go up to?
oh no, because she was at the Love Wrestling, wasn't she?
That's why I'm asking.
No, I didn't. I didn't. I wish I
No,
did.
because there was quite a lot from AEW that were there that year for the Love of Wrestling. But no, I'd love to see her at. I know I've said two already. I've said nearly three now. Well, I haven't said who Anna Jay should fight. One other that I just want to throw in purely because I love these matches. Um, I don't care who's involved. By the way, I don't care who's involved. It probably will involve John Moxley because he loves these type of matches. But can we please have another Anarchy at the arena or Stampede at the stadium? And can we have a hardcore one this time? Like last one's was brilliant, but could we honestly like have? I was sitting at the side bit where Moxley was hanging over.
I'm
It
not
was
having that, Charlie. I'm not having
amazing.
that, Charlie. This was a hardcore match.
It was
Sorry.
a hardcore match, but I was quite
Can
far
you,
away, so I didn't get to see it as much.
your memory is not great. Can you remember John Moxley getting spikes slammed into his head?
Oh
When
yes,
they were,
now I remember. Sorry,
it was very
I
hardcore. I mean,
complete. I didn't
how
say it
much
wasn't hardcore.
more hardcore would you like? Literal death.
They used to use cheese graters.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it would be cool to have an actual like I
I
don't know.
want to see for one again because I got to go there and it was just incredible. I want to see another match in person to me that was as high flying and as reckless as seeing Money in the Bank. I want something at that level and seeing it with my own eyes. That's what I mean.
Like Young Bucks, maybe like the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers in ladder matches
Yeah, I don't know.
of the Young Bucks.
I mean, personally, I think Malachi Black would be brilliant in it as well. I just want something like that, and it's because we're sitting closer this time. Um, but no, I love that match. I've just remembered. I do apologize. That match was mental. Um, I wasn't saying it wasn't hardcore. I was just saying I want to see it in person more.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that would be it. Thank you to whoever sent that question in, by the way.
Yes.
That was really, really good question. We got deep on that. Just thinking, is there anything else I would want at that show?
I think we just want great wrestling, really.
Yeah, we want great wrestling. I think
great,
that
great show. You know, we want
yeah.
great pyro. We want great entrances. And
Yes, there you go. That is what we want, Tony Khan. Listen, we want pyro, big time. We had a few fireworks. That was lovely.
yeah, but this is Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, this is Wembley Stadium. Come on.
But by the floor map,
AC/DC
Charlie.
just played there and threw some bombs down. You know, come on, can we have a bit of that
Yeah, but
pyro
Charlie,
where you think that
yeah,
you've actually died?
on the audience map, there is big. There's a massive area for a stage this time. Like, last time there wasn't so much.
There
But
wasn't a
this,
stage. It was just a door, and it was
yeah.
all
So,
in, and then
there's going to be a big stage this time, I'm sure. And I'm really praying we've got great seats. You know, they were expensive tickets, so I'm hoping that these seats are good. I hope we're not.
can we just hope that the people that are sitting in front of us have very short hair and didn't end up like how I did at Clash of the Castle?
Yes, yeah, because we are on the floor. We
Yeah.
are on the floor.
Yeah,
So,
which is the one thing. So I really hope this person isn't listening to the podcast, because if I don't, I do apologize. But my experience at Clash of the Castle was absolutely brilliant until the show, because we were at an angle which they didn't tell us, so we was actually facing the audience, not the ring. And I paid a lot for these tickets,
oh,
and we were
great.
the second row, and then in my seat there was a guy with just like a giant mullet. So if
Hold
you had
on.
to turn your head, I had to turn my head towards the ring, and I had a guy with just this giant mullet, so I
Oh.
couldn't see.
Screw mullets. And also, why the hell were you facing the audience?
I don't know. I always get annoyed with the way they do that. Why don't they just turn the chairs? I don't know.
Rubbish. Rubbish. Yeah, these seat prices are becoming so expensive. And the thing is, that's why I'm equally looking forward to the Rev Pro anniversary show, because we paid what? Just over 100, maybe?
Just over 100 for that.
Just over 100, and we're like 3 rows back or something like that. So
I thought we were front row.
near enough. We're not front row, but we're like 3 rows back. I mean, I think front row was like 175, and
Yeah.
we booked it at Christmas, so at the time we were just
Yeah.
like, in a
We did.
rush.
That's the thing. You buy stuff at Christmas, and you're like, yeah, I don't care because I'm already going to be broke in January. It's so true, isn't it?
And yeah, and that's going to be a great show. I'm really looking forward to that. Really looking
Yeah.
forward to that. And I think there's going to be some invasion angles from AEW, because they're all over. So
Yeah, 100%. So as we were saying, yeah, we were talking about Rev Pro. Did you get the lineup up? Up. Did you get the
yeah.
line
Oh,
up? That's a weird sentence.
sorry, guys. Sorry, wrong thing. Ignore that. Just some random German guy speaking about video games and that. Okay. All right.
I know who
Here we
that
go.
was. I know who that was.
Do you know the guy?
Yeah, I know the guy. We know
What's
the
his name?
guy.
Like Luigi? No, I don't know the guy.
I thought it was Ralph.
It's not Ralph. No, it's not Ralph. Yeah, I wish it was Ralph. He's a love. You know, I haven't spoken to him in a little while. He's like, I'm not scrolling. I'm trying to find. They've got the commentary lineup. I know they have.
Well, that helps.
Oh, okay. So I think only 4 matches have been announced so far. Oh, okay. These look good. So we got JJ Gale, if you remember him, versus Tomohiro Ishii, and Tomohiro Ishii has wrestled in AEW quite a lot as well. He's he's wrestled like John Moxley and things like that. So that'll be a good match. And we got Zack Sabre Jr.
Yes.
versus Hichiriko, like a Mexican wrestler sort of guy.
Yeah.
Michael Oku versus Luke Jacobs for the
Thank
World
you.
Heavyweight
Thank
Championship.
you.
Yeah, that'll be good.
It's gonna be great.
That'll be very good. And then there's a scramble match with 8 people in it, but only 2 have been announced.
Yeah,
Guy
that's the
called-
one I'm most looking forward to. That's the one I'm most looking forward to, because they always do this one. And their rumbles are insane. Some of the people they've had come out before are amazing.
Yeah, that could be good.
One person I'm really, really hoping will be involved, purely because they're doing a show with them at the moment, or I think they're doing a show with it's the guys that run Wrestle Tours, it's their Progress. I think
Yes.
he might be doing something with them, but it might be these guys as well. If I've got them confused, I apologize. But Danhausen is doing a match. I don't know where it is. I know it's soon though. And I'm pretty sure it's before AEW, but it's not like the week of AEW, is what I mean. So I would really like to see him turn up. So yeah, I think there could be a few surprises there. I really do.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Honestly, like I I really want a holy S moment,
Yeah,
like
100%.
Malachi
But
Black.
Malachi back. Yeah.
Yes.
On that, I think we should go to what we usually talk about. But I like this. If you guys like the way that we've done this episode, let us know, because I like this setup. I don't know if it's better than us just rambling about what's going on, but we're going to go on to that now quickly. SmackDown was very interesting this week, wasn't it? We got a few new things come out of that. Some of which are not at the top of my brain at the moment, which I'm going to admit. But I know that we definitely got. Or was it last week we already had Damien versus Cody confirmed?
No, it's Solo.
Solo. I do apologise. Yes. So that should be brilliant. Give me 1 second. I do apologise.
I'm just pulling faces at the camera because but
Okay, so we started SmackDown this week with, of course, Tiffany Stratton, who I really thought was going to come out with her new briefcase, but she didn't. It was the same briefcase. Oh, I was gutted. Don't even go there. I was so gutted. I swear to God, if she cashes this in at Money in the Bank, and they don't, you know, do what we said a couple of weeks ago when it was the Money in the Bank episode 2 weeks ago, about they could make their own like little merch version of it and it would look amazing. And if they don't
why?
cash in on that, that's the word I was looking for. If they don't cash in on that, they're gonna really regret it. Anyway, we had that, and we had Bianca Belair versus Chelsea Green. That was a very, very good match. Going back to the Tiffany Stratton thing, so what happened was Tiffany Stratton came out, and then Bayley came out, and then Nia Jax came out. And of course, as I mentioned before, I believe that I think that Nia Jax is working with Tiffany Stratton, or Tiffany Stratton is working with Nia Jax. And we had all that happen. But then we had Bayley, and I believe it was Nia Jax as well. I don't know if she turned on her. Let me double check. I remember watching it. So, at the end of SmackDown this week, I thought it was at the beginning, but it wasn't. It was at the end. We had Tiffany Stratton have a fight with Mi Yin, which was brilliant, but it was then interrupted by Bayley, and Bayley was then interrupted by Nia Jax. You're nodding because you're like, I know that you made a mistake then, and we both do now. You're not going to know what that mistake is, guys. Please, Peter. And I loved it. I knew in my head that it happened this week. This smashing of the Money in the Bank briefcase. And the piece of paper fell out, by the way, guys. It did happen. It's not empty. They've actually put something in there. Um, after last time. I thought it was a great match, but I loved that whole story. That is my favorite storyline at the moment on SmackDown. But I thought that was brilliant. The second thing that's at the top of my head that I can remember from SmackDown, I'm just going to go through what I remember now. We had a really good match between Andrade and who was he fighting again? Was it? You had Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes this week. That was brilliant, by the way. That was absolutely brilliant. I love that match. You also had the thing with, of course, we had the moment between Logan Paul and LA Knight. I believe he signed the contract after a lot of whacking back and forth with each other and, you know, all that stuff. A lot of yeahs were going on then. We don't think we had an appearance from Solo Sikoa this week, which I know sounds crazy, but I genuinely don't think we did. Oh, wait, no, we had an attack. Of course we did.
Typical.
Yes. And it wasn't by the Bloodline. Amazingly, it wasn't by the Bloodline. I'm not wrong. The Bloodline were not on SmackDown this week, which is very shocking. Do you know who did attack Cody Rhodes this week? Callum?
Who was this?
Grayson Waller.
Interesting.
Yes. And Austin Theory.
Hmm.
Why, I don't know. It was very interesting, very clever the way they went about it, but it almost seemed like a one-off episode thing. But I thought that was really interesting. I know there's loads more that happened on SmackDown this week, guys. But the way the episode's going, I kind of want to just go through the highlights. Callum, what were your highlight moments from this week's SmackDown? Yourself, I've said mine, but is there anything else that stuck out for you?
I think the continuing like rise of Tiffany Stratton. I think she's
Yeah, I think that's become the main story now.
becoming a big star, and she's really entertaining and really cool to watch for obvious reasons. And she's great overall. Also, the Andrade versus Carmelo was fantastic, as you said. I don't know. I just with Solo, I'm not sure. I've never been that high on him really. I've wanted to be, but I've just never been.
But I think if you listen to last week's episode, I did reveal a not rumor anymore, a confirmed from a very high up inside source of something that's going to happen at SummerSlam. I did all give you a warning. I'm not going to say what it is. We're just going to talk around the subject because we don't want to spoil things for you here. We'll tell you about rumors purely because they're rumors. We cannot confirm them. If we know for a fact something is going to happen, we may talk about it, but we will warn you before we do. So we're going to talk around it this week. So with that in mind and what you just said, do you think that they've led it high enough for what we now know or believe we know is going to happen for it to have the effect they want it to? Yeah,
Well,
that was
whether
a really good way of me wording that without it revealing
then
anything.
again, if this happens, then it's more of a case of which angle will then they go from there. You know.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. That is exactly what I was going to say.
That leads me to think: does Solo have a chance of winning the match?
I don't know. Honestly, I actually think Solo will win.
Which is scary.
Yeah.
I think he's going to win too.
This was the other thing I wanted to talk about. Can I just go through my Raw highlights very quickly this week, and then we're going to go on to SummerSlam because I think that's a really good place to go. So Raw this week, we started off with Gunther and Damian Priest in the ring, in the ring and then outside the ring, whacking the hell out of each other. It was absolutely brilliant. Backstage brawl. We had quite a few of them this week. They were brilliant. We then had El Dragunov versus Bron Breakker. It ended up being a count-out match because Bron Breakker knocked him out outside the ring. Obviously part of the story, which means that it will be Bron Breakker against Sami Zayn again. I did say this last week. I really don't like it when they do the same match 2 pay-per-views in a row. And they've done it a couple of times now, with not necessarily this story, but with another story as well. I think they did it with Chad Gable. And it seems to always be Sami Zayn's. Yeah, I've not got a problem with them doing it, having the match twice. I just don't like it when they do it back-to-back pay-per-views because I just feel like we're just running the same flow again. However, I do like Bronson Reed. I'm going to go into what my predictions are for SummerSlam in a minute, but I'm just going to get through these notes. We then had a little segment with Rhea and Dom, of course, because Rhea's back. Sorry, Rhea and Dom. I don't know what I thought I was going to say then. And that was very interesting. It also set up the part where he said he wanted to go for Jey Uso, which we'll go back into in a minute. There was also another fight that I really wanted to get your opinion on very quickly, Callum. I saw the first match that I've seen of Valkyrie, and it was against Sonya Deville. Now, Valkyrie has had a lot of build up. Just to say very quickly for those that don't know, Zoe Stark got involved, and basically Sonya Deville won. I don't know why that took me a while to say. Do you think that Valkyrie, the thing I wanted to ask was because they've put so much behind her, I mean, they even made a big segment about her first live show. I think it was in Mexico. It was like she signed, and within 48 hours she was doing a live show, and they just started pushing her to the moon. Do you think that they're kind of the way I want to word it is very. I've not got a problem with them doing it. I just feel like last time they did it, it hasn't gone it down as well because they've got to the point where they don't know what to do with it. And what I'm comparing to is Tiffany Stratton. No, not Tiffany Stratton. What's her name? Works with Bianca Belair. They've both got the. They both had the tag team titles. What's her name?
Jade.
Yes, Jade Cargill. I apologize, everyone. I feel like the same thing with Valkyrie could happen with that happened with Jade Cargill could happen to Valkyrie, where they really pushed her to the moon, and now they've got her in a spot where that I personally think they just don't know what to do with her. Do you think the same thing will happen here, or do you think with what we've seen so far, it will just keep on going and going?
I don't know. I think, to be honest, with the Jade Cargill situation, I think she's still potentially world champion material. I think
Oh, I'm not saying she isn't. I'm not saying she isn't, but the way it came across originally was to me almost like how they did Liv Morgan 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She came back, had a big push. Within 2 pay-per-views, she had the championship. See what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not.
And I thought the same thing was going to happen there with Jade Cargill.
Jury's out on that one a little bit. Jury's
Yeah,
out.
I think we need to wait a bit longer. I will say this: I thought her first match was very, very impressive. I need to see more to be able to make a full opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the match I saw, and again, there might have been the week before, and I just didn't catch it or remember it, and that's a bit of a problem on its own as well. Because if there was one and it didn't stand out, again, as I'm saying, you need to have someone that makes me want to talk about these matches, like how some of like how I was talking about the match on Raw this week,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. We need to find more moments like that for it to happen. Just finishing off my notes, we had a very interesting video from the White Six this week. It involved Nikki Cross, also known as Sister Abigail. It was a very weird one where it said "we believe," then there was a lot of whispering, and then there was a deafening, loud scream, like you could hear the audio breaking. And then that was it. Another thing I want to mention very quickly is there was a Jelly Roll promotion for him singing at SummerSlam.
Oh, that's
I
good.
don't usually mention these, but the promo they've put together is so good. I really recommend going to watch it. The other last few things was, of course, then we had CM Punk and Drew McIntyre come out. CM Punk confirmed that he was medically clear. Drew McIntyre came out and he said, I want to fight you, but I don't want to fight you now. Because he knew about the fight. CM Punk didn't. But the thing CM Punk did know was going to happen if they did have the fight was something that Drew didn't, which was Adam Pearce came out and said, "You will not fight tonight because this will happening at SummerSlam." So the match is confirmed. It's happening at SummerSlam. Way. But then there was another twist. He said, "I've had a lot of problems." This was Adam Pearce, by the way. "I've had a lot of problems recently. I've had problems with wrestlers. I've had problems with backstage brawls, and I've had a lot of problems with referees." And what happens when he says that? Burn It Down starts playing, and the return of Seth freaking Rollins comes out for them to confirm that the SummerSlam match will be Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk with special guest referee Seth Rollins. And by what they hinted at the end, there are also going to be special conditions to this match because next week on Raw, we will find out what Seth Rollins' plans are and basically what he's going to do as the referee, basically what he expects from both fighters. But I also think there's going to be a chance they could make this, like a bit more of something else kind of match, if you know what I mean. And to me, that should have headlined the end. It should have ended the night there. I did think Raw dragged a tiny, tiny bit this week because there was a couple of other matches that I'm not going to go into, not because I don't think they were good, but I didn't have time to watch it, and two, I knew there was bigger stuff coming up. So I do apologise if I didn't mention the match you want. The end of the show, basically, we had oh yes, we had a very cool moment between Xavier Woods, Otis, and Tommaso Ciampa. Not Tommaso Ciampa. What's his name?
Akawa, Akizawa.
Because Tozawa, that's it. I can see it on my notes now. Tozawa, and obviously Maxine Dupree was there, and they were fighting the Final Testament, who sadly won. Match was over, and then of course, Chad Gable comes out with the what are they called, brothers?
The Apollo.
No,
Oh, something. The Creed brothers.
the Creed brothers. Yes, of course. The Creed brothers came out. There's a little bit back and forth for them. Basically, Chad tried to ask him to come back. You lost. Da 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 da. Otis said no. Then said, last time you were in here with your little cronies, you ran off and left them on their own. So I don't really think that you're here for protection. Da 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 da. And then what happened? The Wyatt Six music hit. All 5 members of the Wyatt Six came out. They were standing there. But where was Bo Dallas, Callum?
He was standing right behind.
He was standing right behind Chad Gable. And what happened?
What a sister
Finally, we had a Sister Abigail put on Chad Gable. Or was it Mandible Claw? It was one or the other.
Sister Abigail. And
Sister Abigail. And I will say this now. That was, without a doubt, the loudest pop of the entire episode. See, this is the thing. People are going, oh, they're dragging it on too long. Da, da, da. I think now they've got it at the perfect level because they're not showing anything. They're also doing other things with the videos, but we're starting to see a storyline actually build with a wrestler with Chad Gable here.
Yes.
I mean, the pop that they got for him just pulling off a move. So imagine how it's going to be when they actually fight. It's going to be insane. Finally, we then had, and I don't not like this story. I just think that it's a very strange one. We had Pete Dunne, who was supposed to fight Bronson Reed, but was then interrupted by Sheamus. And Sheamus started going for Pete Dunne. We then, after that, went to a backstage interview where Sheamus basically said, why are you going for Pete Dunne? What's he done? I know he said things about you last week, but there's nothing else. You used to be on the same team. And he said, I think that me and him could either be fellas and we could go in the pub and we could have a chat and we could sort this out like men. But I think that he wants to be the king of Fight Night or whatever it is he calls it. So basically, that's leading up for Pete Dunne versus Sheamus. The end, which I thought was very interesting, but we're going to that in a minute. And finally, we ended the show with JD McDonough and no, we didn't. No, yes, we did. It was so weird how they ended this week's episode. There was like 3 segments they could have finished it on, and they didn't. This is why this episode was so all over the place. You had the moment with Seth Rollins, you had the moment with Chad Gable, you had this moment I'm about to talk about, and you had the actual end of the episode. Okay, so the other one was Rhea then dragged Dom to the ring because he found out that he bumped into Liv backstage when he was looking for Jey Uso. He was brought to the ring, and I swear to God, this should have been the end of Raw. I know I said there was 2 other chances, but genuinely, they then had a segment where Rhea was talking to Dom. Liv was at the other side of the ring, and basically Dom blew up on her and basically said, "I hate you. I don't want anything to do with you. You're disgusting. Da da da. Leave me alone." And the casual thing happens like it always does. Liv goes off in tears, Rhea gives him a hug, licks his face and kisses him. The casual thing you do. You'd think that would be a good point to end it. No, because then we had a fight with JD McDonough, Finn Balor, and Jey Uso. I do not see the point in that match whatsoever. I know I said last week there could be a brilliant storyline built there. They've got another week until SummerSlam. They could easily do that on. I know they're not on SmackDown. Okay, I get it, but they could have had a segment with Jey Uso at least on SmackDown because it would have worked. But why that match was at the end and it wasn't the other way around, I don't know. However, they are my notes for Raw. Getting rid of them. After all that, Callum, what stood out to you? God, that was hard to go through.
Liv Morgan is hot.
That's your end of this discussion.
No, that is true. That is a fact. But what I will say is, yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's more of a comedic storyline. But that's okay. I think the crowd love it, and it's very entertaining. Raw was generally okay this week, wasn't it? It wasn't too bad.
As I said, it was a good episode. I just felt like it dragged on a bit.
Yeah.
Like I called you when I finished watching it, and if you would have got my initial reaction, I was going to basically swear down the phone and just go, Raw really needs to cut its time down to 2 hours because this is bloody
I mean,
ridiculous.
yeah, it needs to, and I think it will when it gets to Netflix.
I think it has to. I think it has to. I think this week was one of those examples where they were just trying to put too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, Raw being 2 hours would be lovely.
2.5. 2.5. Absolutely fine. 3 is just too many. And I know that's just like half an hour longer. But if you do that, it gives you half an hour to, have your main event. 20 minutes in the ring, 10 minutes for them to walk out and go to commercial breaks and all that. It gives them that time. And 2 hours, it gives them to do everything else. 3 hours is too long. That extra half an hour is just killing it to me.
Yeah, I agree.
But yes, in general, just quickly, we're going to go over our thoughts. What are you expecting from SummerSlam? As I said, we're going to go into that.
Great things. I think SummerSlam's going to be fantastic.
I think SummerSlam's going to be a classic this year. I really, really do.
It's looking great already. The card's looking great. There's going to be some surprises, I'm sure.
100%.
And yeah, I just think I can't wait, really.
Yeah. One thing I was going to ask you very quickly, because I know I went through my notes really quickly there, was what do you think of the whole Pete Dunne Sheamus thing? And by the way, where's Butch?
Well, like Pete Dunne, Triple H loves Pete Dunne, and Pete Dunne's still fairly young. So I think Sheamus will lose against Pete Dunne in this rivalry.
Yeah.
Pete Dunne will come out the winner looking better because Sheamus will want to give him that. That's where I stand on it.
Where's Butch, though?
Butch is gone.
Is he gone? Was he let?
Butch is Pete Dunne.
I don't mean Pete Dunne. I don't mean Butch. What am I saying?
He's on NXT, I think, the guy you're alluding to.
What is his name?
I can't remember. He's a bit of an NPC, no offense.
What's his name? That's going to annoy me so much now.
Can't remember. All I remember
Ridge Holland
is breaking Big E's neck.
Ridge Holland. Ridge the Fridge. That's what he was called. Yeah. Ridge the Fridge.
Yeah.
I just remember that when they were doing that whole Fight Night Brawling Brutes thing because I went to go and see them live and I was like second row and I was just trying to put them off and I was just going Peaky Blinders because that's where they got it from. That is exactly where they got it from. Very quickly before we end today's episode, we're just gonna go through what I know is the current lineup for SummerSlam because I saved it on my phone and there was a couple of matches that were added, as I said. So Bronson Reed versus Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. That is confirmed. Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk as with special guest referee Seth frickin' Rollins. Going back to the matches that we already had announced, but I'm going to go through them anyway because I'm one of those people. We have Damian Priest versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship. We then have Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan. We then have Bayley versus Nia Jax for the World Heavyweight Championship. And I'm just double checking. Is that it? I think it is. But man, that is a lineup. Like every single match, that is a banger. You know what I mean?
It is. It really is.
And they're clearly going to add a couple more.
So, but then again, what do you do with Gunther? Does Gunther win?
Well, this is what I wanted to talk about in the last few minutes. Okay. With the matches I've said, who do you think's going to win? And I've got a prediction that I want to make, and I know it will be wrong, but I just want to see how many out of them, when we're 2 weeks from now talking about this, actually happened. Okay. I think for the first time ever, there is a chance where minus Cody, every single other belt is going to change hands.
I don't see why Cody can lose the belt.
I think he has to. I think he has to keep it.
He has to keep it.
Yeah. Has to. But everyone else, so I'm saying that Nia Jax will win against Bayley, but I think Tiffany Stratton will cash in and she'll win it. I think the Rhea versus Liv match, Dom's going to come out and they're going to think he's going to help Rhea, but he's actually going to help Liv, and Liv's going to win it. I don't see Sami Zayn holding on to that Intercontinental Championship for a lot longer. So I think there's a really high chance that's going to be changed hands. I think Damian Priest has had his run, especially with them doing a special the night before. I really think that's going to change hands with Gunther. I think it just makes sense now to hand it over to him. Am I missing one?
I don't think so.
Let me just double check. Oh yeah, I really wished there was a belt involved in the Drew McIntyre and CM Punk match. I really do, but there isn't. But no, I'm stating it now. I think that Liv's gonna win. I think Tiffany Stratton's gonna win. I think Damian Priest is gonna win. I think Bronson Reed is gonna win. I think Cody's gonna win, and I'm not so sure about the CM Punk Drew one yet. But what do you think?
I'm of the same thing as you, really, mate. I think Gunther's going to win.
Yeah,
I think Solo's going to win. I think Liv is going to retain. And
I think she, as I said, I think she's gonna retain with Dom's help.
And Bron Breakker.
I really do.
That's a good point. And Bron Breakker is going to win the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I think that's it. One little thing just before we go: if you could add one more match to SummerSlam, what would it be?
One more match. Can't think really. All the matches that I would want to be on it are on it, sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
what about you?
I don't. Right. So there's two. One that I think they are actually going to add, and it's just going to be. I'm not being horrible when I say this. I just think it's going to be one of those filler matches, which is I think they are going to add, the women's tag team belt championship with Bayley versus Jade Cargill.
Right.
I think that's going to be added. I can just see it. If I could add a match, I would add the, Bo Dallas versus Chad Gable match. I
Yes.
don't think it's going to happen at SummerSlam, though.
Yeah.
With the way they're going, I just think they're taking a bit more of a slower pace. Apart from that, they may add. I mean, also, yeah, that's a point. They could add JD McDonough versus with Finn Balor versus Jey Uso and a mystery opponent. That could be something. But you could also then have Dom versus Jay and all that. But again, you don't want to make it so there's too many cooks. You know what I mean? But I think with the way they're going, it's going to be a special SummerSlam. Also, one more thing, what that I want to predict. I've said this for a while. This is a rumor. There's nothing's been confirmed on this. So I can say this. I've said for a while, I think that Brock Lesnar is going to come back at SummerSlam. I've been saying it for ages. Of all the matches for him to come out on, which one do you think it's going to be?
Gunther.
Yeah, right. I've got three. It's either going to be Gunther, it's either going to be Bronson Reed, or hear me out here. It's going to be whoever wins between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre.
Oh, okay. That sounds pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Yeah, you see what I mean? You think about it and you think, oh, that would be a shocker, and it would build to a massive match.
Yeah.
Okay, on that, everyone, thank you so much for listening. This has been a
Thank you.
fantastic episode. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week, which is 1 week away from SummerSlam, Callum. And we'll be discussing again everything that's been going on. We covered everything this week. We've been great. And I'm definitely going to say this. The first half of the show, we're just going to talk random about stuff. Second half of the show, we're going to the other stuff. That's how we're going to go from now on, because I've loved this episode. Do you agree, Callum?
I agree. I think it's a good thing
Yeah.
to do.
And I want more people to send in questions, okay? I want at least one question every week, okay?
Yeah.
You know someone, get them to send in a message, okay? Have a great week, guys. We will see you next week.
See you next week.